There's a little garage on a small town street. I like to meet my friends there every week, and I know we'll talk about some facts and things, history and science and some crazy shit. Talking it out with Alan, Ben, and Nick, and I know that it's gonna be a weird-ass show. Ooh, insanity abounds. Ooh, the world is spinning round. Now we're gonna break it down. Thank you for listening. This is Informed and Confused. I'm Ben.
I'm Nick.
I'm Alan.
And today, they tell me I'm going to learn something about Scientology. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, at the very least, hopefully we can remove a few engrams. Well, why don't we start at the beginning, shall we? First, there was a high galactic overlord. You know, I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. That's reserved for OT3. First, there was a man named L. Ron Hubbard. Lafayette Ronald Hubbard. He was born to a roughly middle-class family. His grandparents had a fair amount of money, owned businesses. His parents, not so much, but he very much was born into what you could call a life of privilege. He had to work for what he had, but not very hard, realistically. Mm-hmm. The two most important things to really take away from L. Ron Hubbard's life without getting bogged down in a endless tale of insanity is that he was most famous before Scientology as being a pulp fiction writer and being the greatest scam artiste of all time. He's not a scam artist. He's a scam artiste.
There's a difference.
Yeah. Oh, he had flair. Yeah. Endless flair. If he didn't build Scientology, I would genuinely respect this man.
Yeah. He actually, I believe he actually set a record for most published books.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He also managed to get an Explorers Club flag and do some sailing under them. He had multiple expeditions looking for gold. Claimed he found it multiple times. Never fucking did. Never.
Was a hang glider enthusiast.
Well, not hang glider. That's like 80s, but like gliders.
The precursor to.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But no, that's getting into utter fucking insanity about this man. But we're here to talk. We're here to go to church, boys. You ready to go to church?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Last time I went into a church, there was this thing with fire and
well,
screaming.
that's okay. Scientology
what
isn't actually
what did
a
we
church,
learn about
so
trying to drink the holy water?
Don't drink the holy water.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a couple of heathens like you, but I'd be totally fine.
I'm pretty sure no one's supposed to drink the holy water.
Well, no one's supposed to, but
Well,
you two
about
would
all the
break out into
babies that they
flame.
keep
I'd just
shoving
be
in it?
okay.
Jesus Christ.
They're not drinking it. They're being drowned in it temporarily.
The resurrection. All right. In order to go to the Church of Scientology, we got to talk about Dianetics. Dianetics is basically this weird-ass life philosophy that he came up with where he claimed that the mind operated in two hemispheres. Not in the scientific way that it actually does, but in the idea that one side was what he referred to as the analytical mind, which was like a perfect machine. It remembered...
The left brain.
Actually, I believe it is the left brain that he claimed. I don't remember at this point, but neither here nor there. But the idea was that it was a perfect recording device. Everything you had ever seen, everything you had ever heard, it had it perfectly. The problem is the other side of your brain is an asshole. That's your reactive brain. And that brain is just
the right brain.
And that brain is just full of panic and disarray and confusion and pain. Yeah, God forbid that human life is just, complicated.
Yeah. Sorry.
I believe in the form of engrams is the term he uses for it.
Engrams is in fact what he used. Engrams were caused by Thetans, which are tiny aliens living in your body. They're always a little vague as to whether it's one or many. That's one thing I've never been able to.
That's getting ahead of ourselves.
It's so much.
So much.
There's so much we cannot talk about because we would be here for years. We could do a second project that is nothing but Scientology bullshittery.
Oh, yeah.
Well, depending on how well this goes over, we might be.
Oh, I'm tempted that every season ender is just another rip into Scientology.
Another rant on Scientology.
There's no end
Could
to
work.
the stories. Basically, the idea was if you could calm the reactive mind and access the analytical, you could remove the stresses and help me out here, Alan. I'm blanking on words. It focusing on it allows you to move past your past traumatic experiences, freeing you of it. Later on, it turned into the removing Thetans from your body.
Yeah, just the negative engrams. I don't know. There's a specific term.
It sounds a lot like his belief was splitting the mind into the analytical mind and the emotional mind. And from what you're describing, it sounds like the whole goal is to shut down the emotional mind, get past the emotional everything that would hold a person back.
Yeah,
that's what it would sound like, and that's why at the start, Dianetics, I genuinely believe this in my heart of heart. In the very beginning, I think Dianetics help people. Yeah. The core functionality of Dianetics is that you sit down with someone with an e-meter, which has been described as 1/3 of a lie detector. I call bullshit on this. I want to know what the fuck that machine is. I want one.
Well, hang on. It depends on which third. It could just be the flashing lights.
Fuck, you're right.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the term you might have been looking for is what they eventually call going clear. That's your final state.
Yes,
the
once
removal of
you've
those
removed all your
engrams.
negative engrams and you
You are
become
clear.
a perfect being.
Yeah.
They love claiming shit's perfect. That's one that's
Well,
bothered me for a
perfection
while.
has a certain place in the human psyche where
but-
we're all striving for perfection. If somebody claims they can actually give it to you,
It's a very seductive thing.
Run.
Yeah.
it's very
Run.
seductive.
Run. As the immortal bit of advice that runs in our group of friends, don't stick your dick in crazy. Don't stick your theological dick in theological crazy. Don't do it. All dicks should be kept separate from crazy. I know crazy fucks better. I know.
But the STDs aren't worth it.
Damn, dude, what crazy have you been with? But in any case, you sit down with a e-meter and do these things that they refer to as auditing sessions. And auditing
Which is
was,
basically just a therapy session, right?
in the very, very, very beginning, mostly. Later on, it was literally just a way to get dirt on people. Because all it was is that you were monitoring people's stress reactions. 'Cause from what I can tell of what the e-meter's actually doing is it's measuring the surface conductivity of your skin, which will range for any number of reasons. But emotional spikes will cause pheromone spikes, which will change the nerve conductivity. And a weird tangent here, but it's basically just anytime someone was stressed, the needle would move.
Yeah.
So it was a form of interrogation.
Ultimately, by the end, yes. In the beginning, it was really just, well, tell me what you're scared of. Tell me about how you got hurt. And it was working through things because this was the 1950s when Dianetics came around. It was published in 1950. And people didn't talk about their feelings in the 50s. Men were supposed to be men and shut the fuck up. And if women had a problem, they went to the doctor and it was just...
Or other women.
It was just...
It was a...
Well, okay. Okay.
Separation
Going to the doctor or to other women. The doctor hands you a pill and says, cheer up, bitch, in the 1950s. You go to your friends in the 1950s, they hand you a glass of Chablis and say, cheer up, bitch. That's all it ever was. Postpartum depression? Cheer up, bitch. That is the 1950s. With the early success of Dianetics, because like for the first year, it was a bestseller. It was the biggest thing in pop psychology, and L. Ron Hubbard approached the American Psychiatric Association, trying to be like, hey, I got this new school of psychology. Check this out. I mean, you guys listen to Freud. Why the fuck wouldn't you listen to me? He was telling you to do coke.
Makes sense to me. I mean,
coke is great.
Thank you, Freud.
I for so much. But basically, psychologists looked at him and was like, "You're just a fucking lunatic." No. Which is not inaccurate, but I do feel was a little harsh at the time. After about that first year and his failed attempts to sell off his new creation, he rebranded slightly, started doing small seminars in the houses of Dianetics practitioners, and eventually met up with one particular millionaire by the name of Purcell. Don't know what his first name is. Sorry, I fucking suck at this. I'm a fraud and a hack. Just let you know, both my co-hosts are nodding silently. We accept this. We know. I'm just charismatic.
We've always known he's a fraud and a hack.
True. Very true.
Live your truth. Live your truth. As L. Ron Hubbard did, live your truth. But once he shacked up with Purcell, he basically had infinite money, and that's about the time that the church got started. Formally, the church formed in 1953, and according to L. Ron Hubbard, he did not form the church.
Now, question, 53, trying to put that in timeline forms, well after the war, was this before or after the whole Sea Org shit thing?
Before.
Okay, gotcha.
Sea Org exists because of the church.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no. Basically, he swindled Purcell. Purcell started putting him up in his mansion, and instead of, talking to 10 Dianetics practitioners at a time, he was talking to 50, 60, 100. And it allowed him to actually get a core of followers. It allowed him to actually start raking in money. And this is also the same time he decided he was not going to pay taxes on any of that money. This will be a reoccurring theme.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and for the record, absolutely nowhere in the U.S. recognized them as a church. Fucking nowhere. There were a couple things like in Pennsylvania, all we need is a religious charter and we can push this through. And no, they failed on every front.
Yeah. Not just in the U.S. As soon when they started going international.
Oh, dude,
the reaction was,
geez, the stories about
Australia booted them straight out.
Yeah. Well, even today in a lot of places, they still the reaction's been harsher than in the U.S. On how they treat them.
Well, I believe it was during the Sea Org days, he ended up in Madagascar and talked to their government. I was like, no, I want to turn your entire island into a Scientology haven.
That was when I hadn't heard.
They shot him down very quickly.
Well, yeah.
Isn't Madagascar one of those areas that, like...
It's an island off the coast of Africa.
Yeah, it used to be all pirates.
It's good
and
size.
Stuff. So they'll accept pirates, but not Scientology. Makes perfect sense.
I don't know if they ever had a piracy problem,
No,
but
not really.
I do believe Ginsburg wrote there. Yeah. In any case, the church really did have a grassroots start. Like I said, L. Ron said he did not found the church. He came up with the theocracy of the church. But the parishioners are who built it.
Somebody else looked at what he made and said, I believe this wholeheartedly. I'm going to tell all my friends to believe it too.
Kind of, sort of. It was the cronies that he had picked up while he was living under Purcell's umbrella.
Yeah.
You know, skipping a bunch of crazy shit that has nothing to do with anything other than wives, child abductions, satanic cults, trying to birth the Antichrist, hunting for gold, lying about movie production. I think I'm skipping like 5 other notable stories.
We're focusing on
the
church, not on him.
No,
we'll get into that later.
I promise you, folks, one day we will talk about Lafayette Ronald Hubbard in excruciating detail. Basically, once the church was formed, they had no more money issues. They were continually getting donations in the form of auditing fees, and their numbers kept growing for a while.
Yeah, I think we didn't explicitly state this before, but one difference between going between Dianetics and the church, he started charging people.
Yes.
They started coming up with a thing where, no, every time we give you an auditing session, every time you learn something new about the church, you gotta pay a fee.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Now, at this point, are thetans and engrams part of this, or because you've mentioned them a couple of times, but we haven't actually discussed.
Engrams were,
Engrams
I
were.
believe,
That was
I
part of
believe
Dynetics
Thetans aren't disclosed until OT3, right? Because that's all the Xenu shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came.
And that was after the founding of the church.
Yeah, I'm not 100% in the exact timeline of when he wrote what parts of the doctrine, but he was constantly writing new stuff, I think, all the way up to close to when he died. But
like, a lot of his shit is self-contradictory, too, because when he wrote the later books, he forgot he said this, that, or the other. The man never fucking edited anything. How do you write more books than anyone else in history? Have zero editorial process.
Never look back.
That could have been his motto, honestly.
no.
Forge ahead, never look back, like the greatest of explorers for gold.
Once they had a clear route in the U.S. and he was very clearly gaining money and he was in the press, the Internal Revenue Service was like, where's he getting all that?
And why aren't we seeing any of it?
Yeah.
And then he said, well, I'm a church. And they said, no, you're not. Hand over the frickin' money.
Yeah. He did actually go to lawyers and try to get it formally declared.
Yeah.
Just they failed in every jurisdiction they attempted. Now, it's about this time that the IRS decides, no, we're coming for your ass. And this is the late 50s, early 60s at this point. And this is when L. Ron Hubbard decides the laws of man are too restrictive to his great journey. So he must go where man's laws mean nothing.
International waters!
To the sea!
To the sea! Org. The Sea Org started out with just one boat. I do believe at its largest, it was a fleet of 4. They fucked them up repeatedly. They screwed up constantly. Their crews were of complete
the Sea
amateurs.
Org was supposed to be fairly large.
Yes and no. The Sea Org has changed dramatically. It's one of those things, like, at different points in this timeline, you are entitled to feel differently about this organization. There's lesser forms of evil within this. While he's out at sea is where the core of what we understand as Scientology now really forms. That's when things like the punishment conditions come about. That's when things
This
like...
is where the whole separating kids and isolating them comes in.
Yep, this is where family separation starts. This is where the messenger corps starts. This is the start of everything else we're going to have to get into.
I was going to say, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with the list. We should break
this
down.
No. This is just our overview. I've got one more bullet point to touch on in this whole mess before we move on to... just a general list of their organizations, what they do. After about 10 years at sea, L. Ron Hubbard's health had deteriorated to such a point that it really was not viable for him to not be on land, near a doctor, near regular water and food sources. Like, the man was getting brittle, old, and broken. When he came back ashore, like, the way people describe him, it sounds like the fucking symptoms of scurvy.
Yeah. Also,
Could be, depending on how many limes they got on ship.
also, the fleet
grog.
the fleet had mostly operated in the Mediterranean, and by that point, pretty much every port in the Mediterranean no longer wanted them there, so they kind of ran out of places to go.
Well, fun fact: his very first boat, I believe it was the Scotsman, eventually relabeled the Apollo, I do believe. His very first boat, bought it in England. The English would not let him register it because this thing was viciously unsafe. Nothing was up to like proper code, and you know how the British love their licenses, baby.
Well, and with one of the world's largest navies perpetually until the U.S. took over. I mean, they have a soft spot for boats and stuff. It's got to be done right.
So who wants to take a guess as to where they actually got this shit registered out of
Wasn't
to
it like
start?
Italy or something?
No.
Too big a country.
Yeah,
Oh,
far
yeah,
too big.
no,
there are rules in Italy. Not a lot, but there are rules in Italy.
Was it Somalia?
No.
A little too less of a country.
Well, I mean, try both ends of the spectrum.
Sierra Leone.
That's a country?
It is a country in West Africa.
Yeah. When he does finally come back ashore, he washes up where all the worst things in America wash up, Florida, very specifically Clearwater. Clearwater is a base for Scientology to this day. I want to be clear. The longest he was there, by any account, the longest I could find he was there, 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and bolted off to Atlantic City because he was scared to death that the IRS would find him.
I believe his followers basically heard him say, "This might make a good place for a base," and then he left, and then they just totally was like, "Oh my God, Mr. Hubbard said that we should make a base here."
Like he fucked around with this idea for like 3 days, fucked off, and then his cronies did it. Like that's another reoccurring theme in the Church of Scientology. The guy at the top says something stupid, does
and everybody
nothing
just
to enforce
obeys,
and then everyone else just jumps to the line to get it done.
I believe I also remember a story along those lines where I forget if he actually put it in a memo or if he just said it, where it was like instructions on like you should wash windows a certain weird way with a certain weird thing.
He
they
had
do that to this day.
He had a lot of weird instructions like that.
He had instructions for absolutely everything. While they were still at sea, no one could wear deodorant or cologne around him. His clothing had to be washed in just clean, fresh water. Detergents.
Wasn't it by hand, too?
Yes. Detergents had too strong a smell for him, apparently. He was incredibly persnickety about the food he was given while they were at sea. Like, while they were at sea, honestly, he had to have been being treated like a living god. Like, there's no way that he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Once he was back in the U.S., the church starts laying new roots in America, and it starts growing into what we understand of it today, such as the Church of Scientology International, which is the parent body of the church to this day. I do believe Sea Org is technically the first thing that was established.
Yeah, the Sea Org had that name, I believe, while they were still on the boats.
Yeah, as far as I know. The Church of Spiritual Technology, which is the organization that David Miscavige is a part of.
Operation...
okay. Apparently the plan to turn Clearwater into a Scientology haven had a name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no.
It was arranged by the Guardian office.
Hacking a fraud.
I did research into the Guardian office. That's how I know this.
Yeah. Holy shit, this one doesn't say for kids on the top.
Right?
Well, what, pray tell, was the name?
Operation China Shop. I assume as in Bull Inn, but...
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, no. But in any case, the Church of Spiritual Technology, which is the organization headed by David Miscavige, who is commonly referred to as the Pope of Scientology. He's the man who's currently running everything. The Office of Special Affairs, which is the punishment and enforcement within the church, as well as sending people out to fuck with people who have left the church. Squirrel busting.
Officially, they are their job is to deal with like PR stuff. They're the public face, like any sort of PR campaigns, or if when they go to court, all those lawsuits.
It's their harassment squad at the end of the day.
Yeah. With the previous one you listed, the
Church of Spiritual Technology.
Interesting thing about them, they own the copyright patents to all of Hubbard's stuff. Now that he's died.
Yeah, like the publishing rights to Dianetics, his later works.
Any trademarks, the trademark for the symbols, anything Scientology related.
E-meter blueprints.
Yeah. What they also do is they basically keep like hardened metal plate copies locked in vaults and shit of all of his writings as kind of like an emergency backup in case the church ever like goes extinct.
It genuinely worries me that they Superman diaried his shit. Don't look at me. You know that Superman kept a giant stone diary in the Fortress of Solitude that he etched the words in with his laser vision and that only he was strong enough to turn the pages in. Don't you look at me like that. Don't you look at me. You're a dirty nerd too. Fucking silence. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at some of the names of these projects and operations from the Guardian office.
Oh,
and this
yeah,
one just
no.
kind of floored me. Project Lantern in 1974 was a plan to destroy Interpol.
Well, okay, if we're gonna talk about that,
I mean,
if we're gonna talk about the Guardian office, we need to talk about what they turned into, which, if I remember correctly,
Well, and
that's
where
the
they
Flag
started
Service
out.
organization.
No, that's not. That's the.
They have too many fucking
Well,
things.
no, the Guardian office is the one you talked about before. The Office of Special Affairs.
The Office of Special Affairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
that is
get to
the-
Guardian office. I'm
Yeah.
jumping ahead.
Yeah.
We first
Well,
have
well,
to
no,
talk
no,
about the
technically-
messengers.
technically
You
we're
are
on it.
actually, you are right on point here.
Yeah,
I was
you're
going
on.
to say, don't we have to talk about the page boys, the messengers, whatever the fuck they call them first?
the messenger corps of little girls that had ultimate power within the church. No.
No,
It
that-
wasn't just little girls, because
Yes, the messenger corps is 100%.
one of them.
No, the messenger corps is 100% female because L. Ron Hubbard decided that women were more trustworthy.
Yeah,
Despite all the divorces and
Just
everything else.
read the book Barefaced Messiah. That's all I have to say about L. Ron Hubbard. Read Barefaced Messiah.
But the Guardian office was the progenitor of the Office of Special Affairs. They had to go out of existence when the church got busted back in the 1970s.
Yeah, it was for the bomb threat that they almost got a journalist convicted of, wasn't it? Wasn't that the scandal that broke?
That's what
that
I
was
was looking
Operation-
for, and I haven't found it yet.
Well, that was Operation Freakout.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one, that was one of them, where he probably would have gone to jail if they hadn't actually launched that raid on the Scientology offices and found the evidence.
As long as we're down this rabbit hole.
Yeah,
the-
I forget the name of the one where they sent the two guys into the
the-
IRS in Washington. You have that?
Operation Snow White.
Okay.
Yep.
I just scrolled to it, and it's given me a link.
No, Operation Snow White. The church managed the largest infiltration of the U.S. government ever. It's not,
not now with the Russians and everything.
Nope,
You never
bigger
know.
than
no,
that even.
by
Bigger than
absolute-
that.
I know.
No, okay. Here's the thing about Operation Snow White that genuinely keeps me up at nights. It's not about the lack of protocols to protect us from
how easy
weird
it
shit
was.
like this. No. That's not it. That is not it at all. That is not it at all. It's that they got a group of Scientologists, and they were like, "So you want to be spies?" And they had to have been like, "Yeah." It's like, who doesn't want to be a fucking spy? That's an
Everyone
awesome
wants
goddamn
to
job.
be James Bond.
Okay, we need you to be an IRS tax accountant. And what does that entail? Lots of paperwork, math, and listening to boring people. Is there any sex or intrigue in this? Well, it's the IRS, so no. Fuck. Well, LRH wants me to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. The main guy who got like the majority of the documents out. I forget his first name, but Wolf. Like
I want to say it was Timothy Wolf, but I could be wrong there. I could be mixing up.
yeah, no, it's
things.
well said. Like
But, yeah, Wolf.
He had a cool name, and they instead of it being like Operation Silver Wolf or like something like that. Like
Well, Snow White, the big
Snow
bad
White.
wolf. It's the only connection I was ever able to make between names.
Also, Big Bad Wolf is in Little Red Riding Hood. Well,
Oh,
I'm convinced
no, you're
LRH
right.
did not read anyone else's shit, so he may not know fables.
Obviously, I don't.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Then they got the one time the feds really ever actually did anything about Scientology in the 70s. They went after them. They raided a number
God,
of
I wish they
facilities.
In
did
California, there was a major raid in
There's a
California.
couple of facilities, I believe,
Yeah.
that got raided.
But speaking of California, that brings us to Gold Base, which is the current headquarters of the church.
yeah,
It's a big-ass, ugly, blue fuck-nut building in California on the Strip. Actually, it's not
no,
technically on
no,
the Strip. It's
that is
on
not-
L. Ron Hubbard Boulevard.
that is not Gold Base.
He has
That is-
he has a boulevard named after him.
I forget the name of that actual facility.
Oh shit! No, Gold Base is
the sprawling thing with the golf courses and
yeah,
all that. It's
yeah.
Where the hole is. We'll get to the hole.
Sounds
We'll
like a
get to the
country
hole.
club.
Well, yeah.
Well, for
the people,
Tom Cruise, it is.
Oh yeah, he had or has a house there at one point.
I believe the entire compound is technically for him, but
Yeah, but no, it does function as the global HQ. There's at least like 1,000 different people who live there, all like Sea Org members live and work there. But
yeah, no, the church likes to put up its own people. Then we have the Flag Service Organization, which is pretty much only higher level individuals. I believe the baseline to get in is OT6 out of a scale of 8.
It's the only place you can go to get OT6, OT7 training. Although I did a little more research, and they actually do offer like regular church services. It functions as the largest regular Scientology church in the world, but it does contain areas that are only for higher level members.
Yeah. Well, as you said, that's the place where you go for OT6 and 7.
7, yep.
Well, there's one more rank higher than that, and that would be the gold standard of OT8. Anyone care to take a guess, just given how this story's been going, where you have to go to get OT8?
I'm guessing
think L. Ron
only
Hubby.
Hubbard.
Think of L. Ron Hubby here.
I'm guessing only Hubbard is an OT8.
Nope.
Is the new leader also?
Oh,
I would imagine you have to be the
there's
guy
plenty
in
of 8s.
charge.
There have been
Yeah,
people
there
who
are
have
plenty
gotten
of
to
people
8
on
and
there,
left.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there are plenty of 8s. But you have to go to their sole remaining boat.
Yep.
You have to go to the free winds because it's Scientology. If we're gonna do anything, we're doing it on the sea, motherfuckers. Like Tom Cruise had his 42nd birthday on the sea because goddamn Scientologists.
Yep.
They also have the Rehabilitation Protection Force, which I think for the sake of argument could be better described as American Gestapo.
Yeah, a system of gulags.
These are
pretty
the
much.
guys that ensure that you don't talk to anyone who has any issue with the church.
These are the guys who tell you to clean the bathroom with your tongue.
Yeah, if you're a member of the inner part of the church, the Sea Org, and you screw stuff up, this is where you go to be quote unquote rehabilitated. There's actually a number of different places. Some of them which no longer operate. They change back and forth. The original one was the building you were referring to.
The big nut blue ugly ass Scientology building.
I don't know what's the blue one. The like beige one that kind of looks like a V.
Oh, the I think you're confusing the Celebrity Center with
Nope,
the
not
Scientology
the Celebrity
Center.
Center. The Celebrity Center is more rectangular. This thing, maybe
Yeah,
it is
but
blue and I'm forgetting, but
The blue one is V-shaped.
yeah, with the two open roofs
Yeah.
on top.
Yeah, where,
that one.
Yeah, where they used to make people sleep outside on wet fucking
Yeah.
mattresses
Yeah,
on their off shifts of a 36-hour shift cleaning the bitch. Yeah, no, you do not want to be in rehabilitation.
Yeah, no, it started with just like the upper floor of that building and it sprawled out to.
So rehabilitation is their punishment core.
We will get deeper on that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
I got just a couple more bullet points to cover here. They also have numerous media properties. They're in all kinds of different things. They've got radio, they've got
Well, they have
television,
that
they've got
magazine,
movies, they've got print sources. The biggest one to really mention is Golden Era Productions, which is their film unit. They make all of the internal church materials, like that insane Tom Cruise interview where he's just rattling on about Scientology for like 15 minutes, being incoherent and giggling half of it.
Yeah.
That was done by them.
Yeah. A lot of just straight, let's call it what it is,
It's
propaganda.
propaganda.
90% of it is just lies about how big the church is and all the people that are part of it and its help, which is all just fake numbers.
Okay. 90% of it is lies about L. Ron Hubbard. The other 10% of it is lies about the church. Get it right.
I stand corrected.
Well, and the other big one that people might see from a day to day is the magazine called The Guardian, which is sold at various newsstands.
Yeah, but I honestly don't think anyone takes it seriously.
Yeah.
The Guardian's
No,
been
but it's
a rag
one that
for how long?
Yes, but it's one people may actually be aware of.
There's another one.
Unlike the Golden Studios that I'd never heard of until you guys had brought it up earlier.
Oh, I assure you, you've seen their material before.
Probably.
But I think the best thing that I saw produced by them, and it's in the documentary Going Clear. There's this sing-along with all the members doing a wide pan shot, and it looks exactly like a Sizzlers ad from the early 90s. Like, painstakingly. So I kept expecting one of them to just duck into a salad bar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're also the ones who oversee the production of the e-meters. They're responsible for the manufacture of the e-meters.
The movie company makes e-meters. That's a little off.
This is where you feel they're jumping the logic shark? This is where you're finding the disconnect? They also have numerous outreach groups. The one that blew me away, 'cause, like it was an organization I was vaguely familiar with, and then I did a little more digging. Criminon, which I simply knew as a service to help felons reintegrate into society. Getting out of jail is fucking hard, and I always support anyone working with that. But then I started digging on it. It's like, oh no, you're auditing them and putting them on a vitamin routine that LRH came up with that has killed about 4 people to this day. Like,
so in order to get the jobs through Criminon, you have to essentially become a member of the church.
You have to have a B12 overdose. I mean, it's just in the rules. Yeah, no, we're going to fill you with enough B12 that you could shit an orange tree.
Yeah.
The Celebrity Center, I'd argue, is the most well-known Scientology building of all the properties they own. I'd argue that's the one everybody knows simply because, well, they've done publicly broadcasted shit out of there. Like in the 90s, they had some special celebration. I think it was actually 10 years since LRH shed his material form. And for the listeners, there was a heavy dose of air quotes on that shit. You have a question?
He didn't die. He shed his
No,
form.
dude, he's working. He's working. He's off to find the next truth.
I thought the whole thing was he was going to be resurrected at
He's
some point when his soul
he's an
got put
operating
into
Thetan.
a new... Yeah.
God, come on, man. God, this is so simple.
Aren't they still waiting for him to be reborn?
Don't make me Miskevich you.
I'm just trying to understand
Do not make me
this.
Miskevich you.
So he's already been reborn.
Alan Squirrel bust him.
Is he in space? Did he already get reborn?
Well, I mean, theoretically. I mean, he was always talking about his past lives in different civilizations. And the fourth invaders battling the fifth invaders because fuck coming up with names. After he came up with the Marduk civilization, I feel he just gave up on naming, so it's like, I suck at this.
It's not a thing where Miskevich is claiming to have his Thetans or something.
No.
Okay.
Miskevich, Miskevich knew him. There's overlap.
He was a child during...
He was
during the whole Sea Org
he
thing,
was in his
wasn't
20s. He was in his 20s when Hubbard died, and he had rank when he died.
Don't I remember reading somewhere that Miskevich grew up?
Oh, he did grow up in the church.
Yeah.
His father was a Scientologist.
Yeah.
His father was a struggling musician who found the church and found it to be an excellent support network and believed in it for a very long time. And then
I thought
realized,
I read somewhere that he was also one of Hubbard's favored children or whatever. Like he was one of the few children that Hubbard kept around to kind of pass on messages and stuff outside of the little girls.
I mean, he certainly took, he rose through the church, obviously, because he close to Hubbard. I believe when Hubbard was doing some of his movie stuff, Hubbard made him his assistant cameraman. That was one of his first jobs for the church.
That was his first big deal when Hubbard thought he could be an auteur director. Which the most notable thing about this is he came up with an awful screenplay called Riot Among the Stars. For those of you playing the acronym game, that would have been RATS. But he came up with this awful idea. John Travolta still wants to make this shit. They shot a bunch of stuff that is completely fucking unusable in any meaningful capacity. And the most notable story that I came away from it, beyond just, LRH being shit at directing, is he always wanted more and more gore. And in one scene where they were blowing up a government building, which of course LRH is going after a government because, I mean, what the fuck else is he going to do at that point in his life? He just kept demanding more and more blood be added to the scene.
More corn syrup.
So by the end of it, the actors that got doused in this shit, the clothing had completely congealed to them and could not be removed without cutting it off of them. I want to see this footage so badly.
Well, and it wasn't just movies he got into. Apparently, he had multiple CDs worth of music.
I know of one for sure. I know that like more have been made, but as far as L. Ron Hubbard singing, I know of one. And then the last big thing to touch on before I start just being funny, the Religious Technology Center. The Religious Technology Center, which basically controls who has access to what texts and how they're distributed, and holds all of the church's trademarks.
Yeah, they basically, well, the other, I can't remember the names, the other technology, the Church of something.
Church of Spiritual Technology.
Church of Spiritual Technology.
David Micskevich's.
They own the copyrights. The Technology Center, though, is the ones who actually produces and distributes the material.
Yeah.
And like I said, along with the whole keeping like hard copies thing, they actually have contingency plans where if the church ever looks like it's going to go extinct, the Technology Center basically turns over the rights to all that material back over to the Spiritual Technology Church so they can keep it all protected in their like church apocalypse scenario.
I hate that they have a doomsday plan so much.
I really hope they're on golden plates that you have to read out of a hat with a stone.
Hey, gold is non-corrosive. If you want to keep something around for a long, long time, doing it on gold would be a viable option. And
yeah, but it's the most ductile metal on the planet. It's too easily deformed. You got no real sense of longevity.
That's why you keep it in a lead box.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't crush it, it'll hold up. That's why a lot of gold artifacts have survived so long. But
just random
I thought it was
curiosity.
because people love shiny shit.
Well, that too.
Well, I mean, just when they lock it away in a hole somewhere, why it hasn't deteriorated.
You mean a grave? When they dig it out of the ground, usually there's bones with it.
Usually it's a grave. Not always,
it's
but
called
usually.
a time capsule.
Okay, guys. We're keeping this in. This is a complete aside, but we're keeping this shit in. Deal with it. When I die, stuff my burial site full of Star Wars collectibles, Firefly merch, like just every last bit of nerd shit you can possibly think of. A couple of Gundam model kits, not built yet. I'm gonna need something to do in the afterlife.
I shall bury you with your Pepsi Prime.
Yeah, no. And then be sure to disseminate maps printed on golden plates across the U.S. and parts of Canada.
Ooh, can I mark distances in gnome tread? Possibly with some riddles.
I mean, I can't exactly stop you, I'll be dead.
I'm totally going to make them treasure maps.
I just told you to make them treasure maps. The maps themselves would literally be treasure. It is a treasure map.
Exactly. And I'm going to make it happen. Back to the conversation. Okay, nobody remembers
We had to have an audit session. We had way too many engrams going.
The point was there are a lot of main cities throughout this area that have a presence.
There are a fuck ton of Scientology centers.
And buildings and
all
centers.
around.
And
Although most of them are actually just empty.
Oh yeah, it's
empty buildings?
yes,
Empty buildings. They just buy properties.
it's a real estate scheme.
Yeah. Yeah. They also tell their members that,
Well, I'm sure
look how
they
many-
have a base staff to be able to bring people in, do
Think about it
things
think about it like a movie set in like a diner or whatever. They may show a guy in the kitchen shuffling around,
but he's the only one there.
there ain't no grill in that kitchen.
Yeah.
Fair.
It's that type of shit. They populate them just enough to give them a ghost of inhabitants, basically, just this facade. And it's like, well, I was only on the first 2 floors. That's a 7-story building. What the fuck are they doing with the other 5? Nothing.
Yeah. It's also a way to deceive their members into thinking the church is actually growing, because they keep buying buildings.
They keep
must
buying
need them.
buildings.
They are absolutely shrinking in the modern age, but somehow their coffers are growing.
Yeah.
I've still not quite worked out
Fascinating.
the math on that.
Yeah, I believe it's under
I'm sure there's
50,000
lots of
members
people
now.
more intelligent than us still trying to work out the math on that. Mostly in the IRS.
I'm not convinced that they're not selling illegal shit, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, no, and here's where I start to fail, because my experience with Scientology and understanding is much more with the founder. The man at the helm. Now, as much as I laugh about L. Ron Hubbard, even the awful things he did, because there's a certain veneer to them that is appealing, David Miscavige, the current leader of the church, is a fucking monster.
Yeah.
That's actually a good segue, because I was going to mention we haven't talked a lot about how the church works itself. I mean, very broad forms, but what this whole thing actually is. Do we have any information on, like, what the inner church actually is like?
Well, yeah. Basically,
It's the Scientologists, run!
Sorry, folks, things just fell over in our studio.
Yes.
sir.
They don't need to know it's a garage.
All right. No, but yeah, you know, the formal church is divided, like we said, between different organizations, and make no mistake, the list we gave.
Oh, that is tiny,
Very
condensed.
small.
We trimmed that. Even just the organizations we listed have fronts. Like that's
factions and portions, and even the ones we mentioned are broken down into a lot of
no,
different...
it's a spider's web, a net of octopus tentacles, whatever fucking analogy you want to apply for dark, grimy shit, it applies.
Yeah. No, but in addition to the formal structural organization of the corporate church, if you will, the way it's structurally organized, I guess you'd say the parishioners, or the church body politic, if you will, really breaks down into three major components.
The rich and the desperate?
Well, I'd say that.
And one more?
I'd say they're probably all desperate on some level. You don't join an organization like this if you're not.
When you're accepted into Sea Org, that is the last day you feel optimism.
Yeah. Anyways, basically, there's three branches. Now, these are just how I'm describing them, not like formal titles. You basically have an outer church, an inner church, and then basically the celebrities, which are kind of a third oddball branch in and of
Kind
themselves.
of their own front because of their public image?
Because of how they're treated. The way they're treated is different than these other two groups.
I mean, that's kind of celebrities in general.
Yeah, they're celebrities.
Yeah. Although because you have things like the Celebrity Center, it's actually a formalized thing.
No. These people are better than the rest of you. Just deal with it.
It's Animal Farm shit. All of us are equal, but some of us are more equal.
Yeah. The outer church is functionally just the regular people who participate in the church.
That managed to get convinced to do
That are,
all
yeah, who
things
do,
like
yeah, the
that.
parishioners. What we would normally think of as the parishioners of a church. They have their own homes, they have their own jobs, they have their own regular lives. They're probably almost certainly going to know people who aren't Scientologists.
But only the ones who aren't against it.
Well, no, that's a very delicate subject.
Well,
We'll
they
get into that,
don't start
but,
really hammering suppressive people to like OT3, isn't it? That's when they start telling you to disconnect from people, isn't it?
I've never actually heard a specific cutoff line.
I know there's
I'm pretty sure,
major...
as far as I know, if you were signed up to the church, if you signed up to join the church, you're not allowed to be you are not allowed to associate with anyone who is an SP at all. Obviously, the
SP being...
suppressive persons. People the church doesn't like.
Okay.
Any sane human being.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just a quick veer here. Wogs. Now, folks in Australia may be incredibly offended by what I just said. I'm not using that slur. Scientologists call normal people wogs. It's functionally the same as muggle.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So like, basically, the outer church, for all intents and purposes, is basically a Ponzi scam. Because the primary thing the church gets out of these people, because they don't actually work for the church
money.
or anything, is money.
Yeah.
Yeah. We already said auditing sessions. Other than, like, I think if you walk into one of these centers for the first time, they'll give you a free session.
Well, they want to rope you in.
Yeah, they'll rope you in.
Well, if I recall, it's about $10,000 for the first level of OT. The second, it's something like $50,000. Then by OT 3, you're spending like $100,000 per.
Basically, the overall
That's how they get
number
money.
that I've seen quoted multiple times, from when you first walk into a Scientology center to getting access to OT8, is at minimum is going to cost you $300,000.
Yeah, no, it gets crazy.
Yeah, and that's not even counting any of the other, a lot of the textbooks and the other, like,
All the
CDs
study
and-
materials that they want you to buy.
that you have to buy, which cost
All the
way more than
propaganda.
That was one of the weirdest things, because dirty secret to my research tactics, I watch a fuck ton of documentaries and interviews because I'm a very poor reader. I don't digest things well. The number of ex-Scientologists that just pull out these like gigantic Rubbermaid storage bins, and it's like, all of these are L. Ron Hubbard books. These are all videotapes. These are all DVDs that I bought later to upgrade the videotapes. And it's like, how much did you spend on this? That box? About $30,000.
Just the sheer amount of material they're expected to
'cause
acquire.
It's not just the textbooks in that. Like, all his writings,
Oh, yeah,
his other
the-
novels and
even
everything,
his
you were
pulp. Even
required
his
to
pulp.
buy. Yeah, and like you said, they constantly find little errors. Like, even though they like, I shit you not, if they find, quote unquote, find an error where there was a comma instead of a semicolon, they'll declare that alters the truth or reality of the book, so they'll completely republish the book, and you'll have to spend another $1,000 buying this book, which probably only costs about, what, $10 to make, if that.
Oh, I refuse to believe it even costs that much.
Yeah.
The raw material manufacturing is so dirt cheap that I do not understand capitalist economic system where it's like, so your markup is 10,000% from the base materials?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you went to you guys both went to college. You remember how much you spent on some of those textbooks.
Yeah. But anyways,
Actually, I pirated most of mine.
but no, and you ask, $300,000. Most of these people aren't super wealthy. Where do they get the money? And the simple answer is they don't. They borrow it. They take out credit cards. They take out
Some
double,
people-
triple mortgages.
Some people functionally become slaves to the church.
yeah,
Just because of
they
money.
go.
If they can't pay, they start trying to be like, well, what can I do in volunteer services with the church? How can I show my
I
value?
believe the term for that is indentured servitude.
No, that'd be illegal. That's that the
Well,
God,
you're the
I'm
one who
about to
called
sound
it
like a
slavery.
fucking moron if I fuck this up. The 14th Amendment?
For slavery,
Yes.
13th.
God damn it!
You were close. That is one of the Reconstruction Amendments, 13, 14, and 15.
I'm still a fucking idiot for going with 14 though.
That depends. What is the 14th? Can you now say it? now
The
that you've
Emancipation
been-
No.
Proclamation. Well, sorry. God damn it! You
How about we move on before you two make yourselves dig yourself deeper into this hole?
I thought we were at Bedrock. We're talking about Scientologists.
You're about to descend into the mantle here, so let's.
Ah, shit.
No, but it just goes to show they rope you in, and you get people who believe so fervently that this is going to help them, that this is the only way to help their lives. They will go bankrupt. They will do, anything to.
Well,
to
from
get
what I
access to these
understand, they
materials.
kind of target people who are, I mean, as far as the regular people, not the celebrities because they're their own group, but as far as normal people, they kind of target people who are not as happy, not as well off, because it's easier to draw them in.
Well, they'll also, like with those early auditing sessions that they give you for free, they'll basically do the inverse of what is counseling. They'll actually make you think you have problems. They will convince you that you are fucked up in the head, and now all of a sudden you doubting yourself and you have problems because they just screwed with you, and now they're going to fix what they just... They're going to quote unquote fix what they just did.
It's a very simple form of psychological warfare that they weigh. If you just walked about your daily life, like say you're at work, and everyone you come across just says, "Are you okay? You look kind of you all right? You feeling okay?" If everyone says it,
eventually you start believing it yourself.
You start questioning.
Yeah.
Is something up with me today? Did I forget to shower? Did I not comb my hair? What's wrong? And you start questioning. All it takes is that little seed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there was a story of, you mentioned the Going Clear documentary. I forget who it was. Do you remember the name of the one actor, the one you thought might be a Trump voter?
Oh, God, no, but he was like David Miskevich's best friend. The guy who was drinking whiskey with Miskevich all the time, right?
Yeah. He said he got to the point where he was ready to just give up with the auditing. It was like, I'm done, I feel good, I'm fine. They took him in for a couple extra sessions, and by the time he got out, he said he felt worse about himself than the day he signed up for all that shit. They totally roped him back in. Obviously, he's left the church by now, but... that's basically the outage. That's most of their members, and even though you're still like physically outside the church, they still can rope you in. Number one, just by you're convinced that you need this, and it also gets to a point where, well, I've spent this much money on it, I might as well finish. They also have what's called the Policy of Disconnection, and this applies to anybody in the church, whether just anybody affiliated with the church. And this says that if you are not allowed to associate with people who are enemies of the church, or as we said before, SPs, drawing a mental blank, suppressive person, that's what it means. Suppressive person, which can be somebody who's like a reporter or something who goes after the church.
Literally anyone telling the truth.
Yeah. Or
anyone who has ever made a comment online negatively towards...
We are being suppressive as fuck right now.
Oh, yes, definitely. SP's right here.
Oh, we are giving people engrams right now. Hard.
Yeah, or
we still don't understand what they are.
Most importantly, anybody who is inside the church who starts to... anybody inside the church who starts to object or question the church,
No, keep going.
is threatened to be declared an SP, a suppressive person, and if that happens, they not only do they get kicked out of the church, but anyone who they know who's inside the church has to completely disassociate themselves with them. You're not allowed to talk to them, speak to them, and it includes your family. So if your entire family is in Scientology, and you want to leave, or you get kicked out, and you speak out against it, well, they now have the option of either they have to basically tell you to fuck off, or they themselves get declared SPs and get kicked out.
The thing that gets most horrifying in that situation, at least from my perspective, is it's not enough that they just cut ties. They then go on harassment campaigns. Like, instead of like a Christmas card being like, here's what we did this year, it's, you're a piece of shit. How dare you do this? You're holding back the human race. Do you know what kind of damage you're doing? And it's like, it's your kids telling you this. It's your mom telling you this. It's your brother, your sister. That's fucked.
They're encouraged to...
Some are actively ordered to do this. If you are a high enough ranking member when you leave, it's war from day one. The church air quote definitely has a policy known as fair play.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's most of those people in the church, the outer church.
Now, I would imagine these are the low-numbered OTs, because you mentioned something called OT3 earlier.
Well, actually, it doesn't have to do with the OT scale. It's more a matter of whether or not you work for the church or not. There are people who can be outside the church, and they're still OT8. If you spend the money to learn and all that, you can do that. It's just, although certainly it takes like years, decades. Most of the people who are that committed, especially older people from earlier years,
end up a part of the church anyways.
Yeah, you tend to. A lot
anyways.
of kids gotten roped into it.
Considering most of them get separated from their parents as children.
Yeah. Now the next group we're going to talk about is we'll get to the inner church in a minute. The other group we said was the celebrities.
Tom Cruise, John Travolta, apparently motherfucking Beck. That really blows my mind.
Yeah.
I don't think I can watch that episode of Futurama anymore.
No. Yeah. Quite a few well-known people. Not just actors and actresses. There are athletes, composers, writers, directors, producers.
Greta Van Susteren, another shocker.
TV personality. Yeah. Some other examples: Christy Alley, Danny Masterson, Elizabeth Moss, Laura Prepron. Let's see here. Jenna Elfman. Nancy Cartwright, who is the voice of Bart Simpson. The one thing I know or I recognize her from.
Shit.
Yeah, but
You're
Bart,
kidding. The Simpsons aren't suppressive? You've got to be shitting me.
apparently,
Matt Groening never went after them?
I'm forgetting the name of the actor, but Chef from South Park.
From South Park, yeah.
That
he
was
bailed.
why he quit the show,
Yeah.
was because of their episodes about Scientology.
he's another well-known one.
Yeah, no, when they go over the OT3 material.
Yeah, no, apparently Nancy Cartwright has done like special, like, I don't know if you call them performances or whatever, where like she'll go to events for like bringing in Scientologists or just for Scientologists, where she'll do the Bart Simpson voice talking about Scientology and shit like that. That's not meant to be heard by people outside of the
That is
church.
so worrying.
Yeah.
I will not eat his shorts now.
The one that surprised me was Michael Pena, who if you've seen the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah.
The guy who does the narration in the Ant-Man movie, the narrated scenes in the Ant-Man movies where he talks about this person said this and this person said this and I heard this person.
Shit.
That guy?
The guy who was all like, I'm going to whistle.
Yeah, that guy.
I thought that was the conversation for later.
Good dear God.
Yeah, he is a Scientologist.
That was the Mexican guy.
What?
Yeah,
No,
that
it
is
the
him.
Mexican
Okay.
guy.
That is Michael
Okay, yeah.
Pena.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Ah.
Isaac Hayes, by the way, that's the name of the South Park guy you
Yeah,
couldn't remember.
yes,
Isaac
that's
Hayes.
I do believe he's still doing voice work, just not for them.
Yeah.
Probably.
But you know he's got to be doing it for
If
the
you're
church.
any good at it, you find work.
He's also a musician, isn't he? Just on his own.
I believe so.
I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Well, because as far as I know, all the little chef interludes were 100% him.
Yeah.
Going in Hubbard's footsteps.
Thank
Yeah.
you for listening.
No, actually the idea of the Celebrity Center was one of the earlier aspects of the church. Hubbard had it, kind of got it in his mind when when he actually saw well-known people start coming to his seminars and all that. That would be a good propaganda thing for the church to focus. If we could get all these well-known people to become Scientologists, that would help spread the word. People would see that and be drawn to it.
For a long time, especially in America and also across the rest of the world, celebrities have led the masses. So, yeah, it was a brilliant piece of
John
propaganda.
Travolta going out and talking about the things that Scientology did for him before Scientology had Tom Cruise to go and do that job. It pains me because I absolutely adore John Travolta as an actor.
Can I tell my crazy John Travolta story now?
In a moment. Please let me finish my thought, and then I promise you've got the mic for story time. Our sister podcast, Story Time with Ben.
Oh God, I could do many episodes.
Like I love him in Pulp Fiction. Like the guy has such great energy. He always brings an original spin to a character. Him as the villain in the first Punisher movie. He's so good. But he's a fucking Scientologist. Like I'm so conflicted because it's like it's one of those things. You can't blame every member for a bad organization. But I really have to question what he has shut up about.
Well, he's not just a member; he's a spokesman for it.
Yeah, no,
actively
he is a public
promotes
face.
it.
Well, I want to say like '93 is when he started going balls to the wall with it.
Well, and I will say, based on some of the stuff we've seen, I mean, ultimately he is responsible for his own actions. But I would not be surprised, based on some of the stuff I've seen about his history with the church and other people in the church, if they've got shit on him.
Oh, I'm sure they do. They
blackmailing
absolutely
his ass
do.
into this. He might not. He may very well hate these fuckers as much as the rest of us, but they have his ass in a sling here. So
maybe that's why he keeps taking villain roles.
Yeah, no, because that's what, as we kind of hinted at before, that's the other purpose of the auditing. They keep files and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, everybody. When Tom Cruise went in for auditing, that shit went directly to Miscavige. On his order, he was like, no. The auditor sees it, I see it. Done.
And then the auditor mysteriously disappeared.
I mean, probably, but for unrelated reasons.
All right, now Ben, I believe you had a story.
Just a weird kind of scrolling through stuff. I found the story, and I didn't look too far into it because, well, this is me, and I can't be bothered to research anything fully. But
You try, and we love you for
right.
that.
So
I mean,
there
mostly.
is this really odd belief in the church, and it has something to do with the Thetans and the engrams, which I still don't understand. I keep being told we're going to get to that, and then I keep being told to pay more money, and, it's... But apparently, John Travolta's son was in... It was some sort of an accident. It was a horrible thing that happened. I want to say it was like car accident or something, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this. Either way, the child died. John Travolta attempted to pull his soul back into the body of his son in order to resurrect him. And this is supposedly something that the Scientologists put into his head, as this is something that can be done. You can pull a person's Thetan back into them if you get to them fast enough after they die.
I mean, I believe
and
they
John
told
Travolta
someone
and
that.
his wife attempted this.
Yeah, I believe I've heard. I remember having heard this story myself. Somewhere.
And it just kind of blew my mind that John Travolta, as you've stated, wonderful actor. I love a lot of his movies and stuff.
I adore the man. That's why it pains me.
He attempted to pull the...
Well, I mean, in all
Mind
fairness,
blown.
you did attempt to pull my beating heart out of my chest last week.
Okay, yes, but me screaming Kali Ma and assaulting you is different.
It was my fault for wearing the fedora. Now, we've mentioned OT numbers. We've said the word Thetan a few times at this point. And you may be asking yourself, listening in your car or on your toilet or in your bed, what's a Thetan, guys? A Thetan is the soul of a space alien from a doomed culture ruled by high space warlord Xenu. In order to deal with an overpopulation issue, I swear to God, this is the most straightforward explanation I got, folks. In order to deal with an overpopulation crisis within his galactic empire, he decided to just freeze a bunch of people and then throw them in volcanoes on Earth.
Out of DC-10s.
Yeah, out of DC-10s. The best part of this, how do they get these people to show up? Well, tax audits, of course. Taxes. Because fuck the IRS. I'm just saying, it's not like, there's a logical chain of custody to these ideas or anything,
So the aliens were under tax audit?
Yes, and that's how they got them into the massive freezing facility in order to separate their souls from their bodies. And then they threw the frozen souls out of DC-10s into the volcanoes of Hawaii billions of years ago, despite the fact that the Hawaiian Islands definitely did not exist billions of years ago.
Heck, in another decade or two, they may not again with all of the tectonic everything that's going on over there.
Volcanic island, forever growing.
Yeah.
We'll see. But in any case, the Thetans are the souls of these aliens that were thrown into the volcano.
And then nuked. Don't forget about the nukes.
Nuked with A-bombs. Not H-bombs, A-bombs. He was very specific about this in his handwritten scrawling. They didn't type this out. They still disseminate it from his handwritten note. Fucker had awful handwriting. I am getting so sidetracked in the awfulness of this. But in any case,
didn't believe in typewriters.
We're still not to the end of the definition. That's how fucking bullshit.
Sorry. Return us to history time.
So frozen.
Story time.
Frozen ghosts thrown into the volcano, nuked.
Well, frozen aliens. They're not ghosts yet.
Yeah, I do believe that
They're
they were
still
in their
frozen
bodies
aliens
at this point.
at this point.
I do believe
Well,
they were.
okay, by the time the nuke and the volcano happened, they're definitely fucking ghosts. Can we all agree
Right,
the physical
yes.
body's toast?
It
Yes.
releases their souls.
Yeah.
It releases their Thetan.
Now, much like Gundam, I assume they are trapped in Earth's gravity. Shut up, that's my one per episode. And they then latched on to the native life forms of Earth. And these Thetans are these immortal beings that will forever move from body to body, accumulating more engrams.
Reincarnation.
We are all at least a Thetan, if not multiple Thetans, because for some reason
I'm all full of things.
they just want to be all up inside you, deep in there. Yeah.
Oh my.
But the problem is these Thetans are what carry the engrams, and auditing is how you remove the engrams. So the shortest explanation I have of what a Thetan is, it's like a soul, but it's not yours.
And engrams are bad souls that come attached?
The memories.
Engrams
bad
are
memories?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
bad memories. Things
That was
that
the
are
other
painful,
term we hadn't
stressful.
defined yet.
That are produced by the Thetans.
Okay, gotcha.
I've got a lovely parallel about clam ancestors, but I don't want to plagiarize another podcaster.
Okay, so while I go and talk to these guys about their clamcestors, we'll catch you guys in part 2. Bye!
Next time on Informed and Confused.
If you want to go there, I'll go there. But we're not going there.
Whoa,
That'll be
whoa,
next season.
Whoa. Save it for the Scientologist, man. Using his lumberjack fighting skills learned from the Thetan of L. Ron Hubbard.
No, if Tom Cruise is Han Solo, Travolta's the Wookiee. I do
Holy
believe that.
shit, I'm not the one to God wait.
Yeah, that is the first God one.